Greetings everyone, Sunrostern here, and first I'd like to thank you for watching and supporting this young channel. Even though technically it's not young, because I created it in 2006, a year after YouTube's founding, so it's one of the oldest channels out there. But I started posting content fairly recently, so that makes it young. Anyways, I didn't expect to receive thousands of views, so I really want to thank you and encourage you to post your comments and questions down in this comment section below so that I can understand what topics might interest you in the future and what content might help you make better decisions. So, in the previous two episodes, we watched along Elon Musk's interview of Lewt, who is the CEO of Robinhood.
Vlad the Stock Impaler.
Yes! As well as in the second episode, meet Kevin's interview follow-up interview with Vlad.
Vlad, thank you so very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
And it was pretty insightful. A lot of events have taken place between then and now, with the market swinging up and down, and lawsuits and testimonies in front of Congress. But in this episode, I wanted to abstract away from the particulars, from the details of the GameStonk phenomenon, and talk about the general principles of how market works. And in this episode, it would be good to discuss what is a hedge fund, what is shorting, high-frequency trading, and whether it would be a good idea for you and I to invest in hedge funds. And in this episode, we have a special guest, and his name is 10x Engineer, and I'll let him introduce himself. So, go ahead, 10x. What's up? Hey, I'm a 10x Engineer, and my name is 10x Engineer. I am ex-Netflix, ex-Google. I'm a tech lead, and I really enjoy your show. I think it's one of the best out there, and thanks for having me on. I have a bunch of questions I want to ask you, and let's start with what is a hedge fund and how is it different from other hedge funds? I mean, how is it different from other funds? Welcome 10x Engineer, and thank you for coming on. We're really happy to have you here. And that is a great question. What is a hedge fund and how is it different? So while other funds are subject to regulation, hedge funds are not regulated as rigorously as the other funds. So they're also not available to the general public. In order to invest in hedge funds, you have to be at least a qualified investor, which in the US context means that you have to have at least $1 million of net worth, excluding your primary residence, and sometimes the steps of investing can be $200,000, which is pretty lofty for regular people like you and I. Well, I don't know how regular you are, but you seem like a qualified investor to me. With that, while other funds are generally taking the long positions in their investments, hedge funds can do whatever they want. So you can think of them as this mystery box, and you put money in, and they're targeting a higher return than the rest of the funds, and they can do whatever. They can invest into some of the sketchiest investments out there. They can short stocks. They can invest into highly speculative assets. For example, have you heard of non-fungible tokens? Tell us about your work and what do you do? Yes, so I work at this company called Large Fang. Everybody knows it. And we work on changing the world by tokenizing everything, including issuing non-fungible tokens. And a non-fungible token is a token that is unique, and you can tokenize anything you want. Like you can tokenize your hat, and you can tokenize your dog, you can tokenize anything you want. So you can think of it as this this digital existence on the blockchain of anything you want to represent with a token. You can tokenize both digital assets and the physical assets. Like, I can tokenize this coffee cup, and someone can purchase shares of this coffee cup. Can you imagine? So any one of y'all can buy shares of this coffee cup, and I'll put it in some secure place where you can see it, and then you can brag to all your friends that you own this coffee cup that appeared on Lewt and Tinker's episode 3 with 10x Engineer. So that's one example. You can also tokenize your tweets, like Jack Dorsey has tokenized his tweet, the first one, for millions of benjes. Well, for millions of dollars, which is a lot of benjes. So what you're saying is that you can invest in hedge funds, and then they can take your money and invest in highly speculative assets like the non-fungible tokens. That's pretty cool. Wow, that is fascinating. So what you're saying is that you can tokenize anything you want. You can put it in the blockchain, and that token really represents an object. And it can be a virtual object, it can be a real object, but essentially you can even issue shares of ownership. So you're selling bragging rights to this object, which is very interesting. So yes, in this case, hedge funds can certainly invest in the non-fungible tokens. I don't know how much people would be willing to pay for this cup that you mentioned, but it can be something more valuable than that, that's for sure. Hedge funds can take your money, target higher growth than the other funds by investing in highly speculative items or higher risk items, as well as shorting stocks. Shorting stocks part is when you believe that a company is not going to do well in the future. So what you do is you borrow the shares of that company, sell them right away so that you have proceeds at this current price. And when and if the price goes down in the future, you cash in this difference as profit. But if the stock actually goes up instead of down, then you are at a loss. And that really creates trouble for those companies. Another aspect that is very important to discuss is high-frequency trading. High-frequency trading was developed by the suits to help them to buy low, sell high at a very high frequency, many times a day, that a regular retail investor would not be able to do. And what does a regular retail investor do? They read the news, they research the companies and try to make buy and sell decisions. Also the same principle, buy low, sell high. But the high frequency algorithms, as you know better than I do, they do it in an automated way. They ingest so much data from different sources, and their algorithms and artificial intelligence interprets the trends and sends signals to that algorithm to buy or sell, and they can be very, very, very lucrative. But then the automation also had its flaws, which led to flash crashes, which is a topic for another discussion. But then the regulators stepped in, and to prevent flash crashes from happening again, they decided to regulate and effectively limit the ability of high-frequency trading in the broader markets. So the suits decided, let's go and do the same lucrative thing, but in a proxy way. So not directly in the broader markets, but in partnership with some brokerage firms like Robinhood and others. So in order to catch the trends, they have a lot of users who are customers of those brokerage firms, and their behavior is highly resemblant to that of the broader market. And if you connect and make it social in which they can talk about their trades. They can send the data of their trades and the metadata to that brokerage firm. Then the brokerage firm then in turn feed that information into the suit's algorithms, and they can do the same high frequency trading, but using the data not from the broader markets, but from this micro version of the broader markets that is the brokerage firm's ecosystem, and make their trades ever so lucrative that way without being subject to the regulative kibosh. And what is the most important thing for successful high frequency trading? As you know, you're the 10x engineer, it's timely and accurate data. And that's exactly what those suits want. Robinhood and other brokerage firms, they have a lot of users who are transacting and sharing information and talking about their stock choices. They can then share that data real time with those big players such as Citadel and Melvin and Soros, and their AI systems can make very quick decisions very frequently in order to buy low and sell high and really make those lucrative profits. And I think that maybe that's why a lot of people don't like the practices of the hedge funds. But on the other hand, it allows Robinhood to waive the fees from the retail investors like you and I. Remember those days when we used to pay $7 or $5 to buy or sell stock, so for every transaction you have to pay the transaction fee? That was waived. So in a way it was a revolutionary thing for Robinhood to get rid of that fee. That made life much easier for many people. Those suits are smart. I like that. So what you're saying is that by investing into hedge funds, I can make a lot of money. I like that. Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. So we've had our interview with 10x Engineer. I think it was a very interesting interview. What do you think? Comment down in the section below and see if you like that guest. Overall, what can we say? What is the moral of the story? Are the brokerage firms bad guys? I would say not necessarily. They're providing that arbitrage between the big players, the suits, and the retail investors. To the big suits, they're providing the data that helps them to trade more profitably, while to the little guys like you and I, they're providing the waived fees and pretty good interface to trade. When it comes to GameStonk phenomenon, yeah, the little guy got screwed, in effect, because by restricting the trades, people weren't able to buy the stock, and that kind of saved the buttons of those big firms, which is kind of boomer, if you know what I mean. Robinhood is, bound to the regulations of the ecosystem that they're part of, and it's like a game that they cannot lose. They can say, well, we require you to deposit $100 billion. We don't disclose our formula, and whenever we need our buttons saved, well, we'll just tell you that you have to put this money down or you cannot trade. And what can you do? I'm really interested to know your thoughts, so please share them in the section below. And by the way, I reply to every replyable comment, so please share your thoughts down in the comment section below, and see you in the next one. Bye.